Greetings, detectives. Mrs. McKay here, and we're on our last clue of case 9, which is all about crafty constructions, and we are going to do learning target clue 9-6. So let's go ahead and fill in our learning target. I can construct triangles, squares, and rectangles using a compass and a straight edge. So, in our last lesson, we learned some basic constructions. We learned how to duplicate line segments. We learned how to duplicate angles, how to create a perpendicular bisector. And now we're going to take that information that we've learned, and we are going to use the same tools, a compass and a straight edge, to create some figures, some triangles, some squares, some rectangles. So let's do a quick review. Remember that when you're duplicating a line segment, what you're doing is you're measuring the length of that line segment, and you're going to create it. You're using that same measurement. So instead of using a ruler to measure, you're using the compass to measure. And with perpendicular bisectors, you're actually creating two circles that intersect, and then you're drawing a line straight through. So it would look something like this. Here's your line segment, and you create an arc that goes this way, and then an arc that goes this way from the two, and you've got your perpendicular bisector that goes through those intersecting points. Parallel lines we didn't talk about, but I'm wondering if you can figure out how could I make a parallel line to this line segment. If I had this line segment and I wanted to create a parallel line, how could I do it? Well, if I know how to create a perpendicular bisector, I can create a perpendicular bisector going this way. And then what if I created a perpendicular bisector of this new line that I've created? Then I'd end up with parallel lines, wouldn't I? Because if two lines are parallel, then they're perpendicular to the other line, right? They're perpendicular to the same line. Let's see. And then the last thing that I want to make sure that you know or remember from previous years is an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle is just what it sounds like. Equi means equal, lateral means side or length, and so an equilateral triangle has three sides that are the same length. I don't know if that's really equilateral. It's not really, because this side looks shorter, but you get the idea. And an isosceles triangle is almost like an equilateral triangle, except only two sides are the same length. Okay? So it has two sides. So for an equilateral triangle, all sides are the same. For an isosceles triangle, only two sides are the same. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Let's do some constructing of triangles. So we're going to start by constructing equilateral triangles. And you can see here that I have a line segment, and it's this one right here. And we're going to create an equilateral triangle with the sides of this length. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you first using my compass. And I'll go ahead and create a line segment, and I want to duplicate that line segment, right? So actually, I think what I'll do is, you know how to duplicate, but just to quickly remind you, you take, well, first of all, you need a line down here, so let's have a nice long line. And then we will take the measurement of my line segment. We start by creating a starting point. Not sure why I have so much trouble with this. I'll just do it that way. Okay, there's my starting point. Go back to my compass. Make it the right length. place it here. And I'm going to make a little arc. And now I've created my line segment right there. So there's my line segment, right? Okay, so I've got a line segment. And I want to, that's going to be the beginning of my triangle. We'll make that be the base of my triangle. Now all I really have to do is take that same measurement, okay, and I'm going to draw a circle up here, make an arc up here, move this, keeping the same measurement of my compass, and draw an arc there. And you can see that I've made an intersecting point, and notice that the length from here to here is going to be the same as from here to here because it's the same radius of two different circles, but the circles that have the same radius. Let me go ahead and see if I can make a point. And then I'm just going to connect my line segments, my endpoints with line segments. There's one. And there's two. Okay, and I've created an equilateral triangle. Now you try it. So here I've already kind of duplicated your line segment for you, and here's your measure of your line segment. I've created your circles so you can see. So you do that. Take your compass and trace around these circles to make this arc up here, and then go over here and make an arc here. And then you find your point, which is right there, and then you connect using your straight edge, connect your points, and you have your equilateral triangle, okay? And then now I've created another line segment, and I'd like you to create an equilateral triangle with this line segment. And don't let the fact that it's, slanted bother you. Just turn your page and make it straight, or do it however you want. You're still going to follow the same set of procedures, and I have them written over here. So you go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's equilateral triangles. Now let's do isosceles triangles. Isosceles triangles. Isosceles triangles have two equal sides, and one side is not equal to the other two. So I'm going to show you two different ways. You may be told to create an isosceles triangle that has the length of this side, that two of your sides have this length. Okay, so we're going to start by creating a line and then just picking some points. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So here I have a line. Oops. Okay, and let's make this be our line. Now let's make it be a little bit longer. That's the length of the two sides, that I want the two sides to be that length, all right? So we'll go ahead and do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just create the base of my line. So I'm going to I have my line down here, and I'm just going to pick a point. So I'm just going to pick this point right here. Okay? And I'm going to pick another point. Maybe this point right here. Now I think that's longer than that one. Why don't I do this? Why don't I make it really skinny? Let's make it definitely smaller. Okay, so here's going to be the base of my triangle, and I want to have this length be the other two sides. So what I do is I take my compass and I measure the length of my segment, and then I take my compass and I go down to my 2 points, go to this one here, and I'm going to go make myself an arc. I can make the whole circle, but an arc is plenty. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make myself an arc. And if oh, let's see, did I do that right? I think I did. Then when I move it, I have an intersecting point, so I'm going to mark my intersecting point. That's going to be the top of my triangle. And then I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to connect my two. And I'm not very good at drawing on this, but you get the idea. And there I've created it. I think this needed to come this way more, so let's see if I can do this. Let's try it one more time. And there we go. So there is our isosceles triangle, and you can see that this side and this side are the same length as that one, but this one isn't, okay? So that's one way. So go ahead and take a look and see what I've done here. So what I did was I picked 2 points, a red point and a blue point. I measured the length of my line segment, and I started on my point and I made my red circle, and it went around this way. And then I took my blue point and I made my blue circle using the same radius. And here's where my 2 points intersected. And then I can draw my isosceles triangle like that. Okay? So you go ahead and do that. And you could even try a different one. You could create another, because there's room on here, you could create another triangle, isosceles triangle, with this length, but maybe make your base wider. Make your base like really wide. Well, you can't make it too wide, because if it's too wide, your two lines won't connect. But you can come up with a different base length. You could come up with maybe from here to here or something, okay? Now, let me show you another way. Sometimes you might be asked to create an isosceles triangle and you want this length right here, or whatever the length is, to be your base, and you get to decide the length of the two equal sides. So let me show you how to do that. So let's say we'll just say that this was the length that was given to us, and we want to create an isosceles triangle with a base of this, and that means that the length of the other two sides cannot be this length. All right? So the way we do that is we go ahead and we create a perpendicular bisector. So a perpendicular bisector, remember, has to be more than half of the length of the original line segment, or the base as we happen to have it here. I think I may have just moved this, which is a bummer. So let's see if we did it right. Let's just start again. Okay, so we've got here, so we'll keep this. We'll move this over. Okay, so now we've created our perpendicular bisector.